Over 60? Discover 4 shockingly bad fishes to avoid and 4 incredible ones to embrace for health. Martha scrolled through her family recipe collection, fingers trembling slightly. Each card held sacred memories, her husband's hearty laughter echoing against the backdrop of sizzling fish on the grill, summer evenings laden with laughter and aromas drifting through the open windows. After losing him, the kitchen felt hollow, devoid of that vibrant spirit, and every meal became a painful reminder of her loneliness. But today, as she stumbled upon an article promising shocking revelations about fish, her heart sank. Could beloved family traditions, so lovingly cultivated, carry hidden dangers? Martha, she thought, how can you betray the memory of what once brought your family joy? The weight of grief pressed upon her chest again, the sharp pang of knowing she had to confront something much bigger than herself. For years, her health had slipped away in fragments, and these revelations ignited a new fear. The recipes she cherished could hurt her and her friends, too. It felt like betrayal from the dishes she had lovingly prepared for decades. Unease crept in as she discovered the data. Tuna, swordfish, even farmed salmon, they carried high levels of mercury, a health risk she had never anticipated. What was she to do? The realization felt disorienting, like plunging into those dark ocean depths she had avoided all her life. Trying to change her family's beloved menu felt like treading water, battling against long-established currents. Grief was heavy enough, did it have to swallow her culinary legacy as well? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Martha's thoughts spiraled like leaves caught in autumn winds. She felt torn. She envisioned her son, Mark, hovering in the periphery. Estranged but a marine biologist. His knowledge could help guide her, but would he even care to assist? Their conversations felt like fragile glass shattering under the slightest pressure of emotion. Would he understand the depth of her struggle? She couldn't ignore the weight of collective traditions. Would her friends welcome the changes she wanted to introduce? Every face she pictured would question her, spurred by nostalgia. Martha, why change what we've always done? Anxiety churned in her stomach. Would she lose them, too? As the cookout approached, anticipation turned bitter. She wanted to unite the neighborhood, but feared the friction of challenging their beliefs. How could she honor the past while advocating for change? As plates filled with uncharted recipes, tangles of anxiety coiled tight in her veins. Would they reject this new approach, dismiss her effort with a polite laugh? The day arrived. Tables heavy with color and familiar laughter rang through the air. It all nearly dimmed her resolve. Every scent carried memories of summers past, but the lure of old habits whispered temptations beneath heartfelt smiles. Amidst it all, she felt an unexpected voice calling out from the crowd, challenging her commitment. Would she manage to balance tradition with truth as she prepared to share her hard-earned insights, or would it shatter the fragile connections she cherished? The tension hung thick, leaving her poised on the brink, unsure whether to leap into the unknown or retreat into the warm embrace of cherished memories. Martha stood in the kitchen, heart pounding as she set out the myriad of dishes she had meticulously prepared. The vibrant shades of greens, yellows, and reds danced before her, a stark contrast to her unsettled thoughts. The recipes she had chosen carried a weight of significance, now each ingredient a small rebellion against the beliefs she had long accepted unchallenged. As she looked over her creations, Martha couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Involuntary glances toward the crowd outside confirmed her fears. The familiarity of her friends, their laughter buoyed by years of tradition, loomed heavy with expectation. What would they think when they caught sight of the unfamiliar? The moments before the gathering, she had made herself a silent pact. If she faltered, she wouldn't do it just for herself. It was time to confront her own fears for the larger reason, a push to help others navigate the treacherous waters of food safety and health. Her thoughts briefly flirted with visions of herself rising to the occasion, channeling the strength she wished to honor in every memory of her husband. As the door swung open and laughter flooded the air, she felt an enveloping wave of old comforts cascading over her. But with this warmth, the knot in her stomach tightened. She wondered if she would call attention to her newly formed stand, or let whispers of nostalgia rally the crowd toward status quo. Each approach felt equally daunting. "Martha, what's on the menu this year?" one of her dear friends asked, her eyes sparkling with expectation. Martha took a breath, heart racing, and held up the first dish. "I've gone a little different this time. We're celebrating new insights about our health." Her voice held an uneasy cheerfulness, veiling the tension she felt within. The plate displayed a colorful quinoa salad adorned with freshly caught fish deemed safe, her tribute to the wisdom gained as she learned to redefine tradition. The reaction was immediate curiosity, mixed with skepticism, painted the faces she knew so well. "Quinoa? What is wrong with our usual fare?" someone called out, laughter lingering in the air like a residue of the past. It felt like waves crashing against her resolve. Each question churned new doubts, stoking an inner turmoil. Could she stand firm amidst their laughter? Did she even want to? For Martha, it burned deeply a need to prove not just to them, but to herself that transformative change was not always a sign of betrayal. Instead, it could be evolution. As dishes were passed around, she watched her friends' faces closely, striving to decipher reactions. Moments stretched, and silence filled the air as unfamiliar flavors danced across cautious tongues. Some grumbled playfully about changes, but there were glimpses of nods. A genuine interest flared among the chatter. Every bite experienced became a small victory, igniting a flicker of hope within her. Could it be that the past wasn't something to fear losing, but rather a launching point into something new and beautiful? Her eyes scanned the room once more, searching for Mark's face, longing to sense approval from her estranged son. Would he also find wisdom in her journey, or would the barrier between them continue to grow? Just as she prepared to make a follow-up remark, a voice cut through the murmurs. "Well, it might be healthier, but what's wrong with a little nostalgia? When did we all get so serious about fish?" The tone struck like an anchor in her thoughts, weighing heavy against her newfound resolve. It was a challenge, a reminder of why she had dreaded this moment, but understood now. Perhaps it was the very tension needed to spark profound conversations. Martha stood amidst her gathered friends, feeling that push within again. The message echoed in her head. The past could inform the future, but it didn't have to define it. As she looked toward Mark, she found him locked in conversation not with her, but with someone debating the merits of her dishes. There was a chance he was listening, absorbing the confrontation happening around them. But would he choose to engage, contributing to the legacy she was hoping to build? In this charged environment, a resolve blossomed within her, demanding confrontation and affirmation. But could she mold this moment into something both complex and enriching, altering not just her path, but perhaps reigniting a connection with her son? The truth felt closer than ever, but uncertainty remained thick in the air, challenging her to elevate the conversation, to plunge deeper into the churning waters she sought to navigate. And just as her courage began to solidify, she caught herself, teetering precariously on the brink of both vulnerability and empowerment. Would it take one powerful dialogue to shift the tides, or would this be yet another moment grasped only to slip away unnoticed, leaving her yearning for it all again? Martha felt her insides twist as she stood there, the room abuzz with conversation, half-hearted jokes flying about her dishes, yet she sensed a deeper current running beneath. It was richer than mere skepticism, questions of identity, cloaked in humor. She had wanted this gathering to be a revelation, a celebration of growth, but instead, it felt like a battlefield where old loyalties clashed with newfound beliefs. With the weight of her son's absence growing foggier in her determination, she decided to match their levity with thoughtful engagement. "I understand nostalgia," she said, her voice lifting above the chatter. "But have any of you ever considered the stories our bodies tell us through food?" The laughter ebbed. A few faces turned, interest sparked by the challenge in her tone. "This isn't just about nutrition," she continued, feeling the words rushing out almost like a tide reclaiming lost land. "It's about honoring the people we've lost and learning to thrive alongside the memories we cherish." There it was, her message etched in the air. She could feel the ripple effect begin, notice hints of realization flickering in the eyes before her. Mark's eyebrows knitted together from across the room, visibly caught off guard. It was a fleeting moment, but it nudged her closer to feeling connected once again. With each bite of her dishes, perhaps they were tasting not just her efforts, but the life she desired to build. As conversation resumed, with a few voices speaking curiously about quinoa and recommendations for preparing fish sustainably, Martha sensed a shift. Her friends were slowly beginning to let curiosity wade into their skepticism. For the first time, her choices stood as a bridge rather than a chasm. Though the bantering resumed in good spirit, glints of earnest inquiries emerged amid the teasing, almost like blossoms breaking through the frost. "What do you mean, stories our bodies tell us?" one friend asked. That question drove the air crisp with potential. Martha stood straighter and seized the moment. "I mean, every time we eat, we have a choice. We decide what stories we carry forward. Each bite influences how we feel, how we live. Why not choose what fuels us instead of just what makes us comfortable?" In that moment, she felt the barrier of doubt begin to crack. It was not just Mark listening. The entire gathering seemed to tilt toward her. They weren't just consuming her food. They were absorbing the intent behind it. It was exhilarating and terrifying. Yet the bravest feeling washed over her, the realization that in stepping forward, she might not just be changing her own story. Could it be that others were ready to challenge their own narratives? The animated discussions continued, voices weaving through layers of tradition and innovation. She could sense her heart swell, the fear almost dwindling beneath the thrill of the exchange. There was a flicker of a smile from Mark, a sign of budding approval, and she latched onto it like driftwood in a storm. But just as her hopes soared, a voice challenged her once again. "You've grown, Martha. But you really think this is how to make a change? Who are you to tell us what to eat?" The air thickened with tension. A direct confrontation was unfolding, and every inch of her tightened as her thoughts flared. Who was she indeed? Was this an invitation to retreat back into the safety of old choices, or an opportunity to defend her newfound convictions? Swallowing hard, Martha realized that the next words she chose could define this moment not just for herself, but for everyone present, her brotherhood of friends entangled in this web of tradition and regret. With steadfast resolve, she took a step forward, her voice steady. "I'm someone who has learned that change is just as much about acceptance as it is about rebellion. And for me, the past informs my choices, but it does not confine them. Our lives require nourishment beyond mere habit." Mark's gaze bore into her, questioning, yet still willing to listen. She could almost hear the cogs turning in his mind, and it sparked a nerve within her to keep going. This moment was more than food. It was about shaping a future she could hardly visualize but deeply craved. Could she convince them all, without losing herself, while opening a door for her son at the same time? As her words hung in the air, penetrative and raw, Martha sensed something shift not just in her friends, but within herself. She was digging deeper, unearthing resolve that had lain dormant for too long. The seeds of confidence were being planted in a whirling storm. But even as she breathed this newfound hope, Martha understood that her journey was only just beginning, and the real challenges lay ahead. Would she wrestle with compliance or push for evolution? Would she step boldly into the conversation of health and legacy, or would comfort beckon her back into a shadow? Yet, amid the revelation, a persistent whisper coiled around her thoughts. Would this moment of clarity lead to broader acceptance or deeper division? And in that uncertainty, a small yet potent realization dawned. The time had come to face the truth of her transformation. Would her courageous stand render her closer to the love she sought, or deepen the rift she feared? Martha felt the weight of the room's gaze, an unsettling mixture of skepticism and curiosity. The silence that ensued following her pronouncement sharpened her awareness of every breath. Staring into the expectant faces of her friends, she grappled with the uncertainty that swirled around her, the kind that smudged the line between confidence and doubt. Who will be brave enough to rise above habit? She thought, her resolve wavering for a mere moment. Still, a flicker from Mark's smile lingered in her chest, providing just enough warmth to banish the cold shadow of fear creeping in. "What do you mean by nourishment beyond mere habit?" The voice came again, cutting through the thick atmosphere. It was Janice, always sharp, always demanding clarity. Martha took a breath, gathering her strength. Nourishment isn't simply about what we eat, Martha explained, grounding herself in the moment. It's also about our choices. Let the ingredients reflect who we are and who we aspire to be. Remembering the past is important, but clinging to it without discernment binds us to old patterns. The room shifted slightly. The friends were leaning in now, engaging in the deeper conversation she had hoped for. Martha relied on the energy of their questioning to stoke her own. I think we need to regard food as a language. It can tell our stories, reveal our heritage, and show our intention. Consider this: why do we choose certain meals for comfort? Is it merely flavor, or is it nostalgia tethering us to memories? Mark nodded, intrigue flickering in his eyes as he processed her words. Other friends followed suit. Some appeared unsettled, but others seemed hungry for more. Martha seized this opportunity. Take a moment, she pressed. When was the last time you experienced food as something more than a routine? What if we used meals as an opportunity to heal, to connect, to share? This isn't just about finding new recipes. It's about forging a path to something fresh and meaningful. As she spoke, images flooded her mind, gathering at the dinner table, hands clasped in prayer, laughter echoing over shared dishes. She longed for that clarity, that connectivity to forge something deeper in her own existence and in her friends' lives. Change begins when we acknowledge the impact of our choices, Martha stated, her voice firm. I'm not here to dictate what any of you should eat, but I'm here to suggest you ask why you eat what you do. Let us make conscious choices together, for ourselves and for those we loved and lost. Her heart raced, a thrilling push and pull of vulnerability and empowerment. Would they accept this version of her? The one that dared to challenge, to question their conventions? Gradually, murmurs of agreement began to ripple through the crowd, but whispers of dissent still burgeoned in the corners. Martha caught snippets of doubt, laced with humor. Don't tell me you want us to throw out our family recipes. Someone chuckled, half in jest, half in challenge. The laughter trailed off as Martha felt the stakes rise. Carefully, she navigated the precarious balance of being candid without stepping on toes. By no means do I wish to erase our culinary heritage. I cherish those recipes too, but perhaps we need to adapt and grow them. Like a garden, we can cultivate what serves us better. With each revelation she unveiled, a part of her self-doubt transformed into conviction. Martha was forging a new identity and granting her choices the deserved space to exist in the world. In the face of critical eyes, the voice within her roared louder, demanding to be noticed. But just as she felt the tide turn in her favor, her old insecurities crashed in a gut-wrenching feeling of inadequacy resurfaced when faced with another challenge. You speak of change, came a cautious voice, but how do we know you won't change your mind next week? Martha's stomach churned, a sensation that went beyond mere nerves. It was an invitation, one that both scared and energized her. The essence of her own journey was staring back at her, to be unwavering while still navigating flux. I can't guarantee I won't change my mind, she stated firmly, but I can promise to be honest in every moment. Learning and evolving are parts of my truth. That's the promise I make to myself and to you all. The air in the room thickened with anticipation, a mixture of challenge and intrigue. Martha could feel the dynamic shift yet again. Her words laid groundwork for possibility. The question that shadowed her learning journey hovered just above their consciousness: was she genuinely brave enough to sustain this new way of living? As fear mingled with excitement, one idea crystallized. Her journey was about more than just food. It was a quest for deeper understanding, connection, and resilience. And as the gathering began to pulse with energy and reconsideration, a thought struck her with unyielding clarity. What if embracing this change could lead her to not just reshape her relationships, but also her entire sense of self? In that moment, she could only ask herself, was she ready to embrace the uncertainty lurking ahead, or would she dissolve back into the safety of the familiar? The echoes of their laughter suddenly felt weighty, pregnant with the potential of what was yet to unfold. Martha held her breath, the laughter still hanging in the air as she became acutely aware of the transformation taking place within her. She was standing on the precipice of something monumental, not just a culinary shift, but a reconceptualization of who she was. This was a point of no return, an opportunity to redefine her identity and establish her place as a leader among her friends. But the gnawing skepticism lingered, testing her resolve with each heartbeat. Mark leaned forward, his curiosity palpable. So where do we start? Your ideas sound great, but what does it even look like in practice? Martha's mind raced. Suddenly the nuances of her vision swirled like fragmented pieces of a puzzle in need of assembly. We start with intention, she replied, voice steadier than she felt. Each meal can be an act of expression. Let us choose recipes that not only nourish our bodies, but also invigorate our souls. As she observed her friends, the mixture of enthusiasm and confusion charted their faces. Some nodded eagerly, their interest piqued, while others struggled to bridge the gap between what had always been and what could be. It was her opportunity to become a catalyst for change. Let us schedule a cooking session, she proposed, adrenaline coursing through her veins. We'll each bring a dish that represents something we want to explore, something we feel called to share. Then we can dissect those meals, trace their origins, and see how they connect us. A wave of excitement ensued, but with it, doubts tugged at the corners of her consciousness. Would they commit to exploring the meaning behind their meals, or was it just an exercise in novelty? It struck her that she was venturing into a territory laden with vulnerability, exposing her vision to potential failure. The risk of this endeavor could expose deep-rooted conflicts, forcing some to confront uncomfortable truths about their relationships with food and heritage. As the evening progressed, Martha's resolve strengthened, her passion growing bolder with every passing moment. We're not simply cooking, we're crafting a narrative, she emphasized, energetic lightning illuminating her words. This is about breaking free from autopilot. Food is more than sustenance. It's art. History, it's a connection to ourselves and one another. Janice raised an eyebrow, challenging yet intrigued. But what if it doesn't work? What if our meals are just bland? What if we uncover things we don't like about ourselves? It sounds risky. Martha's heart quickened, yet insight began simmering within her. Each question from her friends was rooted in a fear she understood all too well, the fear of vulnerability and the unknown. Risky is necessary for growth, she replied, steeping every word in sincerity. Consider this: what if these perceived blandnesses become opportunities? What are we really avoiding? A palpable silence enveloped the room again. Martha felt the atmosphere shift into a collective contemplation. Her friends stared, weighing the significance of her words. In that instant, she recognized the acknowledgement of shared discomfort, an invitation for transformation that lay dormant in their hesitations. Confronted with her own fear, yet fortified by their engagement, Martha felt the pull of her aspirations like a current pulling her forward. If nothing else, we can at least share a meal raised from our real selves. It's about creating intention in what we eat, finding our identities in flavors, textures, histories. If we can face recipes, we can face ourselves. Mark smiled, visibly buoyed. All right, then let us do it. I'm in. As other friends concurred, Martha's heart swelled with a mixture of relief and exhilaration. But a whisper of anxiety lingered, taunting her with questions of preparedness. Would she truly be able to navigate the emotional landscape that lay ahead? The celebration of their agreement served as a veil over the inevitable conflicts to come. As the evening drew to a close, Martha busied herself with finally breaking down her lingering fears, marshaling them into a determined force. How far would she go to confront everything that held her back? The taste of transformation hovered on the horizon, yet the darkness of uncertainty loomed as well. With newfound commitment to the journey ahead and self-reflection as her guide, she caught a breath. Would this quest reveal unexpected burdens as well as hidden strengths? The realization struck her with clarity. The path to self-discovery had begun, but it was only the first chapter of a deeper narrative that demanded her utmost courage to unveil. With that thought taking root, she faced the reality. Was she prepared to embrace not just change, but the tumultuous truth of who she might uncover within herself? The following week, Martha found herself restless with anticipation. The kitchen felt charged with the energy of possibility. She had meticulously planned the cooking session, crafting an agenda that would encourage her friends to delve deeply into the emotional roots of their dishes. Would their plates convey stories of growth, resilience, and vulnerability? Or would they merely serve as a facade, hiding the true flavors of their lives? As she prepared, Martha's focus shifted between ingredients and her unresolved anxieties. Her friends embraced the spirit of the project, the excitement was palpable. Yet, was this enthusiasm genuine or merely a reflection of her own passion? She felt a weight pressing down, urging her to turn inward and confront the expectations she had placed upon herself. On the day of the session, the kitchen buzzed as they all gathered, the air rich with fragrances and laughter. Mark arrived carrying a bundle of fresh herbs, while Janice brought a vibrant array of vegetables. They exchanged jokes and stories, all while Martha's mind remained fixated on the looming task ahead. As she organized the space, she glanced at her knife, a tool that symbolized both creation and destruction. In cutting vegetables, she realized she was also slicing her way through layers of self-doubt. What if this unraveling of identities was more than just culinary? What if the fabricated comforts of their past meals fell apart in the exploration? Let us start by sharing what each dish means to us, Martha announced, striving to instill a sense of purpose. As everyone began unveiling their chosen recipes, nervousness rippled through the room like an electric current. Mark, with his pasta dish, spoke of his grandmother's legacy, how every meal simmered with memories of family gatherings. Yet, as he expressed these sentiments, Martha sensed a conflict in his eyes, a flicker of nostalgia that hinted at unresolved emotions tied to loss. Janice, bold in her choice of a colorful salad, shared her struggles with body image and the pressures of societal expectations. "I wanted something fresh and vibrant," she said, a hint of defiance in her voice. But beneath the surface, Martha detected the vulnerability that accompanied such a declaration. Could this salad be an armor disguising deeper insecurities? As their conversations unfolded, Martha felt as if she were standing at the edge of a canyon. She could hear the echo of her fears ricocheting back, urging her to retreat. But the intensity of the moment electrified her. She, too, had to share. Her dish was entirely about her struggles with control. An intricate pie, representing both sweetness and bitterness in her journey, its crimped edges mirroring her attempts to contain chaos. When the time arrived to prepare the dishes, the atmosphere thickened with palpable anticipation. Cooking transformed into a meditative dance as they diced, sautéed, and garnished. But Martha's mind kept racing ahead to the next step. What would happen during the tasting? Would they truly embrace the essence behind each dish? Once the meal was plated, Martha felt exposed, as if each dish was a mirror reflecting her intricacies and vulnerabilities. She watched as her friends tentatively picked up their forks, their expressions oscillating between excitement and dread. Would they appreciate the flavors behind the food or judge the feelings that accompanied them? "Ready?" she asked, the words coming out more like a challenge than an invitation. The answer to her question loomed large in the air as everyone nodded, uncertain of what lay ahead. As they took the first bites, Martha caught a glimpse of fear transforming into exhilaration. Perhaps this gathering would yield more than just culinary creations. It could unravel and reveal the layers of their true selves. Together, they embraced the journey, the kitchen becoming a sanctuary for discovery. But just as vulnerability began to flow, one of her friends flashed a tight-lipped smile, a shadow crossing their face. Martha felt her pulse quicken. This was the moment. She had both sought and feared. Was she prepared to confront the shadows that lingered over their newfound connections? The realization struck hard. The culinary experiment was not just about food. It was a crucible for honesty and growth. And she was standing now at the brink of that honesty. Tomorrow, they would begin to taste not only the dishes but the raw emotions that came with them, and that frightened yet exhilarated her. Would she be able to navigate the truths that would surface? In the quiet aftermath of their initial bites, a tension wove itself throughout the kitchen, thicker than the rich aroma of simmering marinara. Martha observed her friends, their faces flickering between enjoyment and something deeper, something unspoken that hung like a fog, settling uneasily over their gathering. Looking at Mark, she could see how his brow furrowed slightly as he chewed, his gaze drifting toward the window where sunlight dappling through trees cast an ethereal glow. The taste of his grandmother's pasta was palpable on his tongue, but echoed within him were the fragments of memories, an alluring blend of warmth and regret. What tales lay buried beneath his cheerful dish? Janice was equally enigmatic. As she twirled her fork through the bright greens of her salad, her exterior radiated confidence. Yet, Martha's keen perception felt the tension in her movements, as if she were battling an internal sea. The salad may have celebrated vibrancy, but it felt as though it masked a greater conflict, one that simmered alongside the dressing doubt layered with assertion. Martha found herself standing at a crossroads of vulnerability and purpose amidst the kitchen chaos. They had taken the plunge into personal territory, but what if the revelations that came next were met with resistance or discomfort? The thought constricted her throat like a tightening noose. "Hey, can we get real here?" Martha's voice broke through the silence, both a plea and a challenge, ripping through her usual hesitation. The admission felt liberating but frightening, a step forward into uncharted emotional territory. "What are you all feeling?" "Really?" Mark looked up, his surprise evident. "It's good," he replied, but the weight of his tone suggested otherwise. It reminds me of home, you know? Does it also remind you of what you've lost?" Martha pressed, emboldened by a surge of clarity. His silence was profound, filled with unshed tears. Janice shifted uncomfortably. "My salad is just food. I thought it would be easier to pick something light." Her voice shook slightly. "But maybe it wasn't the best choice for me." Martha felt a spark of realization within Janice's confession. That choice to mask deeper insecurities was a testament to the human experience. They all wore layers, and sometimes the lightness of a dish could hide the weight of the world beneath. Encouraged, Martha took a calculated risk and shared her own heart. "The pie I made isn't just a dessert. It's about my struggle to maintain control. The sweetness is often overshadowed by the bitterness of trying to manage everything." In that moment, Martha felt a shift, like the turning of a tide. The barriers came down one by one. They began sharing small anecdotes, snippets of past failures that seemed to resonate through the food they had chosen. What once felt distant transformed into a collective experience of growth. Each revelation unearthed a piece of vulnerability and, paradoxically, strength. The atmosphere surged with an electric energy, a platform for honesty building like steam rising from their boiling pots. The kitchen had begun to transform into a sanctuary, even as fears lurked in the corners. But just as Martha savored this newly forged bond, Mark spoke. "We can't shy away from the darker ingredients in our lives. I've never shared this before, but I lost my grandmother just last year." The room fell silent, hearts processing the weight of his truth. Everything around them froze, the flour-covered surfaces stark against the emotional excavation happening in real time. Martha felt the ground shift beneath her. This was no longer just about cooking. They had entered a realm where genuine connections were forged through shared trauma and healing. The culinary experiment had become a powerful testament to growth. But could she maintain this momentum? Could they keep visiting these hidden depths? As Mark's story hung in the air, heavy yet liberating, uncertainty gripped Martha. She had opened the floodgates, but would they all be drowned by what rushed in? Each friend now looked to her, not just as a host, but as a catalyst for change. The question loomed, could she lead them through this emotional journey, or would they stumble backward? Today marked an unforeseen beginning. But the real challenge waited just beneath the surface, the unwavering depths of honesty still yearning to be explored. What truths would emerge next? Martha felt the weight of her friends' expectations pressing on her, a tangible force that threatened to crumple her newfound resolve. The room pulsed with unarticulated grief and tentative hope, a juxtaposition that made the air thick. She inhaled deeply, channeling a calmness she didn't quite feel while grappling with the nebulous possibilities ahead. "Mark," she said, her voice steady, "thank you for sharing that. It takes bravery to speak about loss, and it's clear we've all been carrying something heavy." The room crackled with an expectant silence, as though the walls themselves leaned in to hear what would unfold next. Janice's eyes glimmered with a hesitance that tugged at Martha's heart. "I felt lost for a long time, you know? My career has turned into something I dread rather than love. I picked this salad, thinking it was simple and safe, just like my job. But it's not enough. I want to rediscover what I truly enjoy." Martha's mind raced. Janice's statement resonated. It reflected Martha's own doubts about her culinary ambitions. What if we explored that together? The words escaped her lips before they could be reeled back. Together? Mark asked, tilting his head slightly. Yes. What if we designed a meal that speaks to each of our challenges? A dish or a drink that embodies what we're feeling. We could take our vulnerabilities and turn them into something tangible. A mixture of intrigue and uncertainty painted their faces. Janice's playful skepticism momentarily quirked the corners of her lips. You mean, like an emotional recipe? That's a bit out there, even for you, Martha. Exactly. She lit up, buoyed by Janice's approval. We could show how we can transform our feelings into something beautiful. Mark nodded, a glint of admiration sparking in his eyes. I like it. It's a way to blend who we are with what we create. There it was, the momentum. With each suggestion, Martha felt the pulsating energy of authenticity flowing through them. It was a catalyst for deeper healing. Yet apprehension gnawed at her. What if their creations didn't resonate? What if this attempt faltered? Fine, I'll bite, Janice said, a sparkle creeping into her voice. Let us do it. I'll make a dish that reflects my desire for warmth amid this cold despair. Martha felt a wave of relief wash over her. I'll whip up something that addresses my need for control, perhaps a new take on a classic dish. And I'll put forth my grandmother's recipe but alter it, Mark declared, a new light dancing in his gaze. Because I want to honor her memory while recognizing that I must move forward. Ideas flowed freely now, a gentle cascade of vulnerability spilling into a landscape of creativity. It felt as if the barriers erected by their fears were shifting, their shared commitment to authenticity transforming the very essence of what lay ahead. Yet, Martha couldn't shake an inkling of doubt that lingered just out of reach. Could they genuinely unearth this rawness and flavors? What would happen when they tasted their truths? A moment of electrifying clarity struck her. Understanding their motivations would require not just cooking, but facing the dishes themselves. Wait, what's on your mind while you cook? The ingredients carry their own weight, their own stories. Janice's playful demeanor turned serious. Are you suggesting we confront our feelings while preparing food? Exactly. It'll be a way to dig even deeper. As her words hung in the air, Martha recognized the shift within herself. She wasn't just hosting a dinner anymore. She was leading an expedition into the core of their essence through the immersive language of cooking. But before she could ponder more on this newly forged path, a sudden thought shivered through her veins. What if confronting their feelings through food unveiled truths too painful to bear? As their laughter erupted once more, masking her unease, Martha knew it was time to don her chef's apron. Everything was about to change in ways they could not yet imagine. Would they manage to navigate the complexities of their emotions without spiraling into chaos? Martha's kitchen hummed with energy the next day as she prepped for the dinner. Each ingredient was carefully selected and placed, standing by like eager students, waiting for their lessons on flavor and emotion. But deep inside, Martha faced the growing anxiety of allowing her friends to uncover their vulnerabilities through cooking. The thought of raw emotions spilling onto the plates both excited and terrified her. With a knife in hand, she sliced through vibrant vegetables, their crisp edges glimmering under the kitchen lights. The act was grounding, a way to escape the turmoil swirling within her mind. But as she cut, each slice seemed to echo. Could she handle what lay ahead? Could they all? The question stirred both curiosity and fear. As she prepared her take on a classic dish, an elegant risotto, she pondered how the creamy texture could reflect her own longing for control. Would allowing her guests to embrace their emotional truths negate her desire for precision? The juxtaposition left her with a bitter taste in her mouth. Janice arrived first, her presence both a comfort and a subtle reminder of their earlier conversations. Hey, I brought some herbs for my dish. Thought they might add a little warmth, she said, a shy smile illuminating her features. Martha admired the way Janice's approach to cooking mirrored her approach to life, seeking warmth amidst the cold. I think they'll be great, Martha replied, a genuine enthusiasm bubbling in her voice. Just then, Mark entered, carrying a handwritten note. I thought it would be nice to share something about what this dish means to me, he said, sliding the note onto the counter. It's about my grandmother, how her meals defined so much of my childhood. I want to remember her, but also ensure I move forward instead of getting stuck. Martha's heart swelled with a mixture of affection for him and excitement for what they were creating together. They began cooking in near symphony, chopping, stirring, and seasoning as the smell of simmering broth filled the air. But between laughter and culinary exchanges, eye contact often lingered, heavy with unspoken concerns and anticipation. "Hey, Martha," Janice called over the bubbling pots. "Do you ever wonder if we're ready for this? What if our dishes don't capture what we truly feel?" Martha wrinkled her brow, pausing her stirring. A moment of honesty broke through the facade she'd been meticulously crafting. "Every time I think I have it all under control, I'm reminded how much I'm still discovering. But I can't ignore this journey we're on. This is about more than food. It's our chance to be seen." Mark leaned closer, his eyes scanning the ingredients. "And what if what we create tonight turns into something delicious or terrifying? Can we face it together?" The kitchen air thickened with an electric tension as they confronted the heart of their venture. Martha took a deep breath, her pulse racing as she sensed the collective apprehension among them. Would they collectively find peace and clarity, or would the emotional weight become a meal too heavy to digest? Just as that thought simmered, Janice spoke up. "I want to be brave tonight. To unravel my feelings through my cooking." Martha felt the breadcrumbs of self-doubt begin to dissolve. This wasn't just about the dishes. This was a journey into personal reclamation. They were exploring a deeper layer of who they truly were, through vulnerability and authenticity. And that realization anchored her. As they plated their dishes, a flurry of colors and textures unfolded, inviting each of them to step back and reflect. Yet, even amid the excitement, Martha felt a tickle of trepidation crawling up her spine. What if they confronted truths that changed everything? With a final glance at their creations and the echo of unfinished conversations still haunting her, Martha's resolve solidified. Tonight would be pivotal. As the three sat around the table, forks poised, she whispered into the atmosphere, "Here we go." The moment hovered, pregnant with the potential for pain or profound clarity. Would tonight's flavors allow them to embrace their untamed realities, or would they push the issues deeper into the recesses of their hearts? Martha could feel that tonight would either break them apart or build them anew. The truth lay on the edge of their plates, waiting to be savored. As Martha's life unfolded in rich, vibrant layers, she sensed the shift within her and her friends. The weight of their emotional exploration loomed heavy in the air, yet each dish before them symbolized their collective resilience. It was more than a meal. It was a brave manifestation of personal truths waiting to be tasted. "Martha, your risotto, this is incredible," Mark exclaimed, his voice filled with genuine surprise. As he savored the creamy texture and fragrant hints of lemon, the memories of his grandmother flooded back, a bittersweet reminder of warmth mixed with loss. Each spoonful was a step closer to understanding, not just of the food, but of the emotions entwined in the threads of their shared history. Martha felt both pride and trepidation fill her heart. She hadn't just created a dish. She opened a new channel of connection. "It represents my struggle for control," she admitted softly. "I wanted it to symbolize that even the most chaotic moments could lead to something comforting." Challenges began unfolding like petals, and before long, Janice joined the fray, appearing tentative yet resolute. "Well, I created a spicy soup. It's my way of embracing the heat in my life," she explained, her voice growing steadier. "I'm realizing that seeking warmth means confronting the cold parts of myself, including my fear of emotional authenticity." Martha's heart surged. It was astonishing how vulnerability became the crux of their dishes, creating bridges across their personal struggles. Somewhere in the journey of hesitation and fear, their culinary experiment morphed into a profound symposium of empathy. "Food is a language," Martha declared as she ladled soup into bowls, "and this evening, we're translating our experiences into flavors." She glanced at Mark. "Your grandmother's recipe felt like a hug. It's okay to feel both joy and sorrow as we remember her." Mark smiled, his fork forgotten momentarily as he absorbed every word. "Exactly. I can taste her spirit in this pasta. I didn't just want to honor her. I wanted to carve my own path, to evolve." He paused, vulnerability brimming in his eyes. "It's liberating admitting my truths while still embracing my past." As laughter interwove with heartfelt reflections, the tension began to dissipate, revealing threads of authenticity woven into the fabric of their gathering. Each shared moment drew them closer, their collective storytelling becoming a balm that soothed wounds they hadn't even realized were open. "Can we keep doing this?" Janice chimed in, her heart bursting with renewed energy. "I think facing these truths over food could be a game-changer for us." The notion of recurring gatherings struck a chord of excitement, a chorus of agreement floating around the table. "Yes," Martha echoed, her spirit buoyed by their enthusiasm. "This can be a space for us to explore, to create, and to discover new layers of ourselves. What we've uncovered tonight is beyond just food. It's a journey of connection, healing, and growth." And with those words, it crystallized for Martha, she wasn't merely carrying traditions, she was redefining them. It was no longer about clinging to beloved family recipes. It was about evolving them into something personal and transformative. She had reclaimed her narrative, turning a painful past into a landscape of discovery and connection. The evening continued, each bite a blend of flavors infused with stories, laughter turning into heartfelt discussions. As the final remnants of their dishes were cleared away, Martha felt an overwhelming sense of fulfillment. The atmosphere shimmered with possibilities, the promise of friendship, shared vulnerability, and the strength that comes from honoring both past and future. Her initial fears felt distant now. Martha had conquered the battle within, rising not just as a cook, but as a catalyst for change. She transformed the space around her into something sacred, a space where vulnerability and courage could blossom together. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm tones around the room, Martha's heart brimmed with satisfaction. She had achieved far more than a simple meal. She crafted a new legacy forged in the dignity of honesty, companionship, and growth. "Let us plan our next gathering," she stated, conviction filling her voice. "We'll make it a time for deeper explorations." With renewed enthusiasm, another layer of appreciation formed among them, a promise to lean into the restorative powers of food and friendship, a path illuminated with shared courage. Martha left the evening with a profound sense of achievement. She had confronted her fears, embraced change, and proved to herself and to her friends that transformation was possible. Savoring each moment, she celebrated not only her culinary triumph, but the recognition that her journey was just beginning. Would you consider diving into your own journey of personal growth and connection? There are countless stories waiting to be explored. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find these transformative journeys. Comment below your thoughts on tonight's story and share your personal experiences. How does food connect to your growth? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us create a wave of empowerment through the power of story and connection.